We may be running late, but amazingly enough, YouTube is ready to go. Like that took like 10 seconds. Normally it's been longer.
Yeah, this is my fault and not YouTube's fault. Okay.
That's right. Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 351, your once-weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
I'm Rett.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining on this Wednesday night or in podcast form over on Spotify or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, sometimes some Star Trek. All super chats are read on the hour, so long as they will not permanently demonetize the channel. We do drink alcohol on the show, and if you're drinking along with us, alcoholic or not, let us know in the chat, and we'll give some early show shoutouts as we go along. Last but not least, if you'd like to take part in the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server, where you can chat with myself, John, Rett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and join the awesome community that hangs out over there. And it's a show, and it's a cat.
Can you see the cat?
I can see the cat. I don't know if anyone else can.
It's coming. I think they can now.
Yeah, here we'll do that. There we go.
Woohoo!
It's a cat.
Yes, kitty. Oh. She's living down in the basement right now.
Yeah.
She's not letting me get some sleep. So every night, every 90 minutes, she meows and jumps on us and all that. So she's been enjoying the basement.
Cool.
We work down here, so it's not like we're neglecting her.
Right.
It's just away from where we sleep.
Yeah. Our pets all have very specific bedtime habits. Chaco basically lives in the basement until people go to sleep, and then he will come up and he will rampage the house. Because we crate train our dogs, and so the dogs sleep in crates out in the living room every night, and they do fantastic at that. But once the dogs are put away, Chaco is more than happy to go upstairs. But if the dogs are out, Chaco lives down here. Mm-hmm. And then Rambo just kind of goes wherever he wants. Usually Rambo will cuddle in with me in my bed. Sometimes even Chaco will pay me a visit at like 2 a.m. So yeah, all hours of the night there's some creature awake causing havoc in the house.
Yep.
Anyway, it's going to be a good show. A little light on tech, but we do have some Sony PlayStation news. We can talk a little bit about the PlayStation 5 Pro. We have some debate over actor recreation. Disney has been sued in relation to Peter Cushing's recreated portrayal of Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One. And it's not by who you think. And Lexar has announced a product that I'll take 8 of. So that should be fun. Anyway, let's start out the show the only way I like to start a show. Rett, what are you drinking tonight? Oh, he's bringing out the good stuff.
Did you like that one finger open?
That was solid.
Now, I don't know why it went so well. I was hoping to get a little bit better of a crack, and
yeah,
maybe it would have been like if I was outside, a little bit of like foam spillover would have been nice, but
yeah,
I'm inside. I can't risk that.
That was spectacular. What's really great, besides you still owing me a case of pub beer, is I was at the store today and they had an 18-pack of pub beer for $15.
Nice.
So I have another pack of pub beer in my fridge.
They're so good. They're so tasty.
It's so good. It's so good just to have around.
Believe it or not, this might be hard to believe, but this is the rack that I bought to start summer off. And
is it the one that you put in your fridge first and you've just bought other racks to stack in front of it? because that sounds more like you.
This was the one that went in first, but it was surrounded by craft beer.
Okay.
And so every once in a while, when I needed a Rainier, I reach in there, I pull out a Rainier. I'm down to like, I think I've got like six to like 9 of them left.
Yeah.
And that was like a 30 pack or a 36 pack or something. So
no. Well, tonight I am going with we're going Rogue Variety Pack. I've got 3 12-ouncers here. I think only one of them has ever been on the show before, which is kind of fun. So I've got the Hazelnut Brown Ale, which is a classic. I know I've had this one at least on Talking Heads before. I don't know if I've actually done like a
it's
proper
not
video
legally spring yet, by the way, or fall. Damn it.
It's not, but I'm getting some of the fall beers out of the way and prep for fresh hop season. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We've got the Bat Squatch Hazy IPA, which I know has never been on the show. And I have one of my personal favorites, which is their Honey Kolsch.
I love the Honey Kolsch. Now, I have a recollection that Bat Squatch might have been reviewed on a video one time.
I can look that up. We stopped keeping records of Talking Heads beers years ago, but I keep a record of every single beer that's ever been done on video. So let's put that claim to the test. In fact, I'm just going to search for Rogue in general.
Like in my vibes-based indexing system, you held up the can and said Bat Squatch, and like a joke came to my lips, and I was like, I've made this joke before.
Let's see. We've got a Rolling Thunder Imperial Stout. We've got Hazelnut Brown Nectar. There it is. So I knew I had done that one before.
Okay. I feel like the Rogue Variety Pack has made an appearance, is what I'm feeling, but
I don't know that it has. I really don't.
Maybe not.
We've got
Bat Squatch particularly I was drawn to, but I'm glad at least one of them has.
We've got the Cold Brew IPA, which is fantastic. Coffee infused IPA. It's great. Let's see. We've got the Rogue Hop 7 IPA. We've got the Combat Wombat. That has been done before. Fruit Salad Cider. If you've never had that one, it's a great Rogue cider. Hazelnutty Choctabulous. Let's see. Out of Line West Coast IPA. I was actually one of the first people to receive that. Rogue sent that out to me before it was distributed. So I got to review it on the show before anyone else did. That was kind of fun. I had a Rogue Craft Root Beer and the Rogue Cucumber Soda when my daughter and I were building the Bar Top Arcade. Let's see. No, and then I know I haven't had it recently. So
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Newport
Lights IPA. The Dead and Dead. Yeah, that's it.
Go figure. All right. Hey, it happens, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a lot of beer reviews on the show.
So with that being said, what was your Bat Squatch joke?
Well, I was being generous when I categorized it as a joke, and it was more like just a knee-jerk, like, I need to say something about the name, you know? Like, yeah, I mean, no real joke. Just the reflex.
That's
the
fair
dad
enough.
Flex.
Yeah.
The Ordinary Dude says, summer was June, July, and August here. Had a lot of 100-degree Fahrenheit days. And, yeah. And then not only that, I don't know where you are, Ordinary Dude, but we had just had a 100-degree day in September.
Yeah.
As well.
Which is exceedingly rare for us.
It was like 62 degrees one day, Then it was like 97 the next and like 100 degrees the next.
It was 104, I think, on the next. And then it went ridiculous. 85 and then 70.
Yeah, and now
it was just
cold.
like this.
It like rained all morning today.
Yeah.
Like there's supposed to be thunderstorms tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says it's 65 here. I'm like, come on. Am I taking out the ACs or am I leaving them in?
Yeah, it was 104 on Thursday. It was 68 degrees today.
What a mess.
Oh.
Normally my pool is done by Labor Day, you know, but not this year.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Let's see. Who's got some beers in chat? I know I saw a couple. Starbuck Tech has got a Founder's Mortal Bloom. It's always a good one. Ordinary Dude's drinking a mocha. Patrick's got a fresh iced tea. Allison says, AI prompt. Jeff from Craft Computing saying, as always, I'm late because my guests are never on time.
I'm usually on time. It's just been like a new trend.
Budney's drinking a dragon's milk. Fantastic choice. Reverend's cracking into a bright cider by Two Town Cider House. He says out of Corvallis, but they're Corvallis and Bend. You can they've got breweries in both locations. Let's see. Old Poy's got coffee and a shot of brandy. Shot of brandy or two. Cyano's having a Taiwanese fruit tea after a succulent Chinese meal. That sounds delicious. Magic Rat's got a Noble Oak Bourbon. Haven't heard of that one. Joshua, Comrade Brewing, or Comade. Comad? How do you say that? Gosh.
Comade
Brewing. Superpower IPA. Sorry, I saw Superpower and immediately went Comrade.
Yeah. I thought Comrade first too, and then I squinted, and I liked your Comade. Like that's where I would have went if you said Comade.
Yeah.
So, but you said Comade, so
you had to correct me.
Well, not correct you. I just cast a wide net, Jeff. Together, we might get this beer correctly.
From Comade Brewing, Superpower IPA. 2019 Great American Brewers Fest Gold. 2020 Great American Brewers Fest Silver and American Strong Pale Ale. Nice.
Wow.
David says, hoping your cat isn't in Ohio.
Yeah. Ha ha ha.
Well, we've got the Traeger warming up outside, you know. We don't eat them raw. We at least smoke them around here. God.
Yeah. Just tie the little paws to the grill and you let them go for 8, 9, 10 hours, low heat.
Yeah.
Got that good hickory smoke going.
You got to cook them like a lobster where you put them on their live, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't taste good unless there's terror in their final breath.
Exactly. A good flavor.
John J. Surfing While Sciencing by Equilibrium Brewing. Double IPA, 8%, rating 4 out of 5. Very nice. Harley's...
Joshua says...
Oh, go ahead.
Joshua corrected us. He says it's Comrade. No, I'm kidding. Comrade.
I love that I was right while reading it wrong. That's
right, yeah.
Harley has a Surly Brewing Axeman IPA. Surly's always a fantastic brew. Let's see. Oft Infinity's got a Grand Orbiter Phased Rye Lager. Ooh. Collaboration between Market Garden and Hop and Frog. Hop and Frog makes really good stuff. I've not heard of Market Garden, though. But a rye lager. That sounds interesting. Sounds really interesting.
A tasty beverage.
Yeah, we'll do one more. Novella Hub's got a Hop Butcher for the World. Only interested in bangers. Double IPA. ABV, 4.15 on Untapped. Getting up there.
Excellent.
I said one more, but Michael chimes in with a Dragon's Milk Crimson Keep Imperial Red, 11%. It's my favorite Dragon's Milk of all time. Except for the horchata that they don't make anymore. Which, by the way, we need to get everyone together because I still have all of your Dragon's Milks.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I might bring yours out to you on Friday.
Even better. Even better.
So, let's go ahead and start with some Lexar news, and then I figure maybe we'll talk about what we're doing on Friday, because maybe people are in the area and they'll want to come by and say hi.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. Lexar unveils the world's first SD card made out of 316 stainless steel. And number one, when I heard this, my brain went, wait, no one's done this before? Like, surely someone has made an armored SD card before. But as it turns out, no, they haven't. So my next question is, what the hell took so long? Like, me as a creator, as a traveler, as a journalist, I'm always so incredibly paranoid about SD cards when I travel. I have cases that I keep them in. You're always worried about, integrity of your data and things like that. These are not only 316 stainless steel, they are also IP68 rated. They're waterproof. They're more waterproof than your phone is.
That's amazing.
This is incredible, and I'll take 8. Like, that was my very first thought. Was I'm literally going to replace all of my SD cards with 1 terabyte stainless steel models.
Yeah.
It just makes so much sense. How has this never been done before? I have no idea. There it is. I mean, there's a CF Express as well. They're doing the same thing with CF Express.
Perfect.
But yeah. So the SD cards that they're releasing are UHS-3 V60 cards. So they are good for up to 205 megabytes per second writes, 280 megabyte per second reads. So good for most every codec that's on the market that can record to an SD card. 205 megabytes per second writes, that's in excess of 1600 megabit as far as codecs go. So your 100 megabit codec that you record in 4K on your Sony A7 IV, your 160 megabit that you get from Panasonic, it'll write on these cards with no problem whatsoever. That's megabyte per second. The codecs are in megabit, which is 1/8 of that.
Oof.
They're also releasing some SDXC Express cards, which are basically SD cards with PCI Express NVMe backing to them. And those have rated speeds of up to 1700 megabytes per second. So, even cooler. Stainless steel armor SD cards will be available in 128, 256, 512, and 1 terabyte capacities, though pricing and availability are unknown at the time of writing. I will definitely be getting some of these.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Lexar to send some over because they've been pretty friendly to me with stuff like that in the past, but I am definitely going to ask for some of these.
Not going to feel so bad letting those jangle around in your pocket with your keys and all that,
Right. For quick memory card changes, it'll make me feel that much more at ease when I'm doing stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, that is pretty cool. It does make you wonder. I guess it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But why not? Yeah.
Yeah. That was just cool.
Yeah.
And that's about the end of our tech news. Like, there's not a lot as far as hardware this week. I mean, we'll get into PS5 news here before too long, but there wasn't a lot to be said in the world of tech. Like I looked and I looked for something that was worth talking about.
I logged on to Bluesky this morning, and the first thing I saw was from a games journalist, and he said, "Really good week for fans of politics and console enthusiasts who want to spend $700."
Yeah, basically.
And like that, I don't know why. That just made me laugh. It's been that kind of news week. I don't know. There must be something going on in the world that's just really dominating the news cycle for some reason.
Yeah.
Not sure what it is, but
yeah. I don't know.
Must be that hurricane that Ordinary Dude was talking about.
Yeah, it could be the hurricane. If you haven't and you live in the U.S., go register to vote.
Is there an election coming up?
There's an election coming up.
Oh, that's right. I saw Taylor Swift tell me to do that this morning, too.
Yep.
Childless cat lady.
Yep.
Oh,
you can all probably guess who my endorsement is, but please don't take me telling you to go register to vote as a sign of partisanship or, blah, 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 blah. Go vote. It is.
But it is
right
telling that's
a partisan thing. Yeah. All I'm saying is one party's trying to suppress your votes and deregister people and whatnot, and the other party is saying, please, no, everyone go vote. I don't care who you vote for as long as you go vote. And then there's still the other party that's claiming illegal immigrants are voting, and I'm like, you would not risk your citizenship to go vote. Yeah. That's not a thing. Hey. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Just like eating your pets right now, taking your pets off the streets and eating them. That's not happening either.
Yeah.
The other thing is for Oregonians, I don't know how many are watching the show tonight, but I know there's a few out there. We got ranked choice voting on the ballot, which is pretty cool. And I know a lot of county clerks have come out of the woodworks to say, oh, well, it's going to be too confusing for people. But just know that there's at least one county in our state that has been doing ranked choice voting with no problem.
Yeah.
So Benton County is doing it. So if you want our elections to be cooler and better and more fair and more representative of people, then vote for ranked choice voting. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yep.
Or don't. But you should.
Not only that, but everyone else should take Oregon's lead because we've been doing vote by mail for 32 years. It works. It's effective. It's secure. It's the best way to do it. And we get the best voter turnout.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
So go vote, people. Do your duty. Or shut the hell up.
Well, thank you, Lexar, for having at least one thing worth talking about this week.
Thank you, Lexar, for announcing a product this week that we could talk about.
In a world where... That was Lexar, right? I think we did like the action movie ad.
You know who reached out to me today? Jala.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes. Nice.
We might get to reprise that.
Oh, that'd be fun. That was I love that. That one still makes me so happy. Like
that was so much effort for a single ad.
Yeah. What always makes me laugh is like how short the bit is, and then we just do a straight ad read for like most of the time afterwards.
What's funny is that's actually become my standard practice is to do a 15-second skit followed by like a 35-second ad read. But it works. It's effective. It's very effective. But I don't know if you saw my video on AI backgrounds and
I did. Yeah. For Vulture.
We may have to do some fun stuff.
That's yeah.
So
I can see it now.
Picking up what I'm putting down? Yeah.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, we might have to go make that happen. So,
like, you thought the cinematography was good in The Office,
right?
Just wait.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually thinking, basically, we're on Amazon. I found that there is a 4-panel green screen that is 8 feet tall and 14 feet wide. I could place that behind us and create a small soundstage that we could do, projected cinema. Gosh,
Yeah.
God, what's the word? Basically green screen replacement, but virtual production.
There you go.
So we could do live compositing, virtual production, preview it in camera, record it in camera with green screen and live compositing. And basically all you need to do it is Unity and an iPhone with LiDAR and a camera. And you could do live compositing.
Wow.
On a green screen. So we might have to do something fun with the Java ad. So
that would be pretty cool.
I haven't even responded to them
yet.
I still do have the lightsabers. Maybe we'll have to do like an acolyte scene or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or diving through the scrap piles.
Oh yeah, there you go. Oh yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's a good. There's a lot of good ideas here.
But that would also give me an opportunity to I mentioned in that video for the live compositing for the virtual production is you can take there was a video that I saw that basically AI generated an image and then created a cross section within the image. So he had a street with a couple intersections in it. And so the camera's looking down the street. What he did is he manually cut the depth data into it. And so he goes at this corner, this is one cut. And so he actually cut the section of the image away, and then AI restitched the image together so it would create the cross street. And then he did it at the next intersection as well and cut that out. And then he composited 3 layers on top of each other. So when you move the camera, it moves the whole intersection like this in the camera.
Yeah, like parallax.
Yeah, it's a parallax effect. And it's still just 2D images, but in a camera in the background, that's all you need to simulate that amount of depth. And it's super quick and efficient. So, maybe creating like a junkyard scene like that where we've got like 3 or 4 piles of junk and we're digging through one, and you've got one in the foreground to really sell the camera movement.
Yeah.
Well,
that makes me think of that makes me think of the way they got it's the same idea that they got the super depth in one of those early Disney movies, like Snow White or whatever, where they zoom in on the moon and they zoom out, or they're close up on the moon or whatever, and they zoom out and you come through the trees and all this type of stuff, and you get I could see that it's the same effect,
Yeah.
Imagine zoomed in on some part or whatever in the junkyard and coming out, and there's some cool stuff there.
Yeah. So, like I said, I haven't even responded to him yet, but last time they bought an ad from us, and the ad did quite well. And then I just never heard back from them. But they just spent a lot of money on LTT, so something tells me they've got some ad money to burn right now. So.
Yeah. Well, and the way that they went about it, I just kind of envisioned that they weren't interested in it they had a campaign in mind.
Yeah.
And so they bought some ads and that was it, you know.
Exactly. But that could be fun.
Yeah.
Of course, then I have to buy the green screen and make sure the lighting's correct, and we'll have to push the tables out of the way and everything. But we could totally make this happen.
Yeah. Could work.
Yeah.
Totally work.
Well, I have to bring some wigs back too. You got.
Come on, we gotta have that mullet somewhere.
That's right. It's got to fit in somewhere.
In a box in the garage.
It's hanging on the wall.
Oh, there it is.
it's up there.
Yeah, that Lexar one. That was like the one where we opened the.
Oh, that was good.
Computer case. Rett, we happy? Yeah, we happy.
We happy. That one we only ever did like 1 or 2 runs of also. That was a summer blockbuster movie.
Yeah. It was pretty good.
We did good work.
Yeah.
Anyway, I kind of teased it, but you and I are going to be doing something on Friday.
Yeah.
Something local that we've bragged about a couple of times. You want to tell us a little bit about the Mount Angel Oktoberfest?
Well, Jeff, it is one of the biggest Oktoberfests outside of Germany itself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's always fighting for like the top like second largest event in Oregon.
Yep.
Um, and it happens this weekend. That's September, I guess it starts tomorrow, September 12th
Yeah.
through 13, 14, 15. And on Friday night, Friday the 13th, an auspicious date, I have a beer crew. We're pouring beer at the Beer Garden or the Fest Hall, the main Fest Hall. And we are there from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's a good time. I mean, I've been doing Oktoberfest because I've lived in the area my whole life. So I've been doing it for, forever. And I think this is like my 12th or 13th year or something on the beer crew, maybe even more, but
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, this year I needed somebody to step in last minute, and I thought who better than Jeff, and I was really happy he said yes, because it's always a lot of fun, but like some people don't get it. They're like, well, what's the big deal? You're just like pouring beer. And it's like, yeah, but
Yeah.
like that's fun, you
Yeah.
know? Like
So, if you live in the area, if you live in the greater Willamette Valley, and you want to come to Oktoberfest, I will be pouring beer at Oktoberfest alongside Rett from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the big house. So,
yeah, it's always a good time. They got like round the clock music going, and the bands anymore, it used to be pretty dry, like straight festival polka type stuff.
mm-hmm.
But anymore, like the bands that cycle out, you get a bunch of young people who are playing rock and roll covers of the classic polka songs, doing all the big German folk songs that everybody knows. But they're doing them rock and roll style, Um, the music's really good. The location's really good. They got a pretty okay selection of beers, although they used to try, like 10 years ago, they were trying to go way harder into the craft beer thing, and it just doesn't sell very well at a big event like this. And so some of the places got different offerings. Like you can get some of Benedictine Brewery's beers on tap down at one of the fest halls called the Wine Garden. There's another one right across from there called the Alpine Garden or the Micro Brew Garden. I don't know what they serve in there because I don't normally spend too much time in there, but usually it used to be the place where you could go and get a bunch of different micro brews and stuff. And then at the main hall where we are, we got a couple of 10 barrel offerings. 10 barrel has kind of been the go-to brewer. I think they got like the Apocalypse IPA and a couple of other things. And then they've got Spaten. They got the Spaten Oktoberfest and the Spaten Lager, as well as like a couple, maybe like one or two or three Weihenstephaner beers. So yeah, come on by if you're around. I mean, it's going the whole time, but we'll be there Friday night, and yeah, it's fun. Get yourself a sausage, a schnitzel,
Yep.
a corn on the cob, an elephant ear. What else? They got cabbage rolls. Cabbage rolls, man. Yeah, I don't know. I got my
Thankfully, you don't
go-to
have
things
John
I
pouring
always
the
hit.
beers, or they'd come back 40% head. Yeah, I'm hoping I do better. So something
Yeah,
tells
it's
me I
not
will.
too hard. It's not, the taps are going nonstop, so it's not like there's a chance for like much buildup to happen. And,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it's always a little painful because like, you go to a place like this and you hand over the beers can be a little expensive, obviously, but it's all, this is all like charity, nonprofit organizations and stuff like that. So
Yep.
like when you go down there and you buy you can buy like some deep fried pastry thing, and it supports the local schools. You can go down there and you could buy a half a chicken, and it supports some local men's club. You can go down there and buy whatever, and it supports somebody's church or somebody's sports club or somebody's whatever. So, and the money usually all goes to a pretty good place. Like when I was in the Boy Scouts, a lot of what happened at the Oktoberfest funded our activities for the whole year. Like I go to summer camp based on what happened, at Oktoberfest. So, um, but yeah, it should be fun. You always run the risk, like I was saying. Sometimes you get in there and somebody who only pours beer once a year or whatever, and they give you kind of a crummy pour. But if me and Jeff are behind the bar, you can guarantee that we are gonna get that beer all the way to the lip of your cup. So.
Yep. Here's the. I wanted to get the stat right, so I've been looking it up while you were talking. Is Mount Angel, Oregon, where this is being held, is a population of 3,400 people. The Mount Angel Oktoberfest brings 350,000 people. So when we say it's one of the largest events outside of Germany for Oktoberfest, that's what we mean.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than Cincinnati. Yes, it is.
There was one year, and I don't know, it was like one of the years after COVID. Like maybe it was because I think like 2020 they closed down.
Yeah.
2021 they came back and it was like masks required, and that was like a fun year because it was pretty tame. It was pretty like chill.
Yeah.
I think 2022 blew the socks off out of any event I'd ever been to, and I've been to over 30.
Yeah.
And it was so crowded, so slammed. We found a table in one of the beer halls, and we just camped out because it was, if you got up, you lost your seat. If you went out to go get food somewhere, the event takes up a few square blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I wanted to go and get a fried pastry from the Mount Angel School District. That walk took me like 45 minutes. Yeah. So it's like, no, I'll stay close to the fest hall and I'll just get a fried schnitzel sandwich instead. Like, you're going to have to skip your fried pastry. Yeah, but it's good. It's typical fair food, typical stuff like that. But it's a big event. It's fun. The music's really good. It's worth, one night of your life if you guys are around.
Absolutely. So yeah, this Friday, be there.
You can see us in our natural habitat.
All right, next up, we are going for the Rogue Basquatch.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Come on.
Gonna do it? You gonna do it?
There we go.
It's a tough little bugger.
Please edit that out.
Nope, no can do.
Whatever, the first one looked cool.
The first one was badass. Oh, and Coffee says that Cincinnati, the Oktoberfest in Cincinnati, is twice the size. It's 700,000 people. Cincinnati has more than 3,400 people in its population, though.
Yeah. I graduated from Mount Angel from high school, and there was like 60 people in my graduating class.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was the biggest graduating class in history at that point.
So my mistake. It's not as big as Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's a little bit bigger city.
It is. And there's other stats about it too that I think makes it, like, I think like usually in Oregon you have like the state fair and the Rose Festival, kind of like going back and forth between 1 and 2, and then you have Oktoberfest occasionally going from 3 and knocking one of those out of the second place spot.
Yeah.
So that's how big it is. In local parlance. But yeah, and the other thing is that picture that Jeff was just showing from the website, you can see the Glockenspiel there.
Yeah. And
the Glockenspiel, that's the biggest functional Glockenspiel, or like, clock tower, cuckoo clock tower outside of Germany. The only one that's bigger is in Munich, I think. So, and the one in Munich has been like off key and everything for years and years and years. So, Yeah, it's a pretty neat little thing. I mean, is it worth going out of? If you just want to see the Glockenspiel, it's not really worth stopping out of your way. But if you appreciate Bavarian culture and all that type of stuff, then yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. The whole town, for those who have never been to Mount Angel, it's all Bavarian style architecture. The main town hall is very, very German. So yeah, it's a pretty cool place to be.
And if anybody wants to try local beers, man, the nearby Abbey brews their own beer, Benedictine Brewery. They've got a pretty cool tasting room right on the hill there. Yeah, there's the Glockenspiel right there.
Yeah.
So whenever that goes off, every hour, you can hear somebody playing violin while those kids come out on the swing and they swing. And that violin player is in my band, the Marionberries.
Nice.
Yeah. Fun fact,
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to some controversial news. And I don't know how this one's going to end, or how or why it started. But there has been a lawsuit filed over Peter Cushing's resurrection in Star Wars Rogue One. This was a movie that came out in, 2016? I believe it was. Which was about 22 years after Peter Cushing's death in 1994. Now, Peter Cushing famously played Grand Moff Tarkin, pictured right here. Very iconic role. And obviously a pivotal character in the Star Wars franchise, especially in Rogue One, as Rogue One is the direct prequel to A New Hope. Literally ends 5 minutes before the events of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, which is where Grand Moff Tarkin is prominently displayed. Anyway, Disney famously brought back Peter Cushing to reprise his role 22 years after his death in Rogue One. He was portrayed by this guy right here. It was Henry... Gosh, I forget his name. Anyway, there was another actor who basically played a body double, and then they superimposed his face over the body double, and superimposed the voice over the body double, or tweaked the voice enough to make it sound like Peter Cushing.
It was pretty convincing, the voice-wise.
It was pretty good. It was a pretty good overall. I was less impressed with Leia, although Leia only appears in the film for about 5 seconds. But whenever Grand Moff Tarkin is on screen, there's a little, uncanny valley with
Well, they did a good job with him. And if you weren't happy with Leia, were you happy with Luke in The Mandalorian?
No, they did an awful job with that.
It's weird how well they did with this one.
Yeah.
And then kind of dropped the ball on their other main characters.
Yeah. Anyway, Disney has been sued over the likeness of Peter Cushing in Rogue One. Now, you might be thinking that it was probably Peter Cushing's estate, Peter Cushing's next of kin, family, etc., estate holders, interest holders, that have sued Disney over the improper use of Peter Cushing's likeness. That is actually not the case. As it turns out, Disney did have kind of the blessing of the Peter Cushing estate. Not necessarily when they first created the film, but in the subsequent year that followed, they did pay Peter Cushing's estate 28,000 British pounds for the use of his likeness, and have since received the blessing of Peter Cushing estate. No, the Peter Cushing estate is actually one of the defendants in this lawsuit.
Wow.
Like I said, it's not playing out the way you think it plays out. As it turns out, Disney and the Peter Cushing estate is being sued by one of Peter Cushing's oldest friends named Kevin Francis. The actor claims that Peter Cushing agreed to not grant permission for anyone to reproduce his appearance through special effects without his authorization. How Kevin Francis has the right to sue, though, who knows? Because,
well,
obviously the court docs are...
Is England even really a country? I mean, I guess their laws are kind of like their money, useless over here. It's kind of like,
but it's still an international release. Rogue One was released in UK, so let's not split hairs or make jokes until we get all the facts out.
Hey, it was a funny joke, okay? It was going places.
Are they even a country?
Room to build.
I mean, we threw tea in a harbor for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Francis's company, Tyburn Films, is suing Disney, subsidiary Lucasfilms, which owns the right to Star Wars, Lunic Heavy Industries in the UK, the producer of Rogue One, and he also has brought claims against the executors of Cushing's estate, who have both since also died.
Interesting.
And the Associated International Management, the agency that represented Peter Cushing until his death. The Disney company claims, and I'm just going to read directly from the article here, claims that they did not believe permission was required to recreate Cushing because of the terms in his contract in the original film and the nature of the special effects that they utilized. However, after being contacted by Cushing's agents, they agreed to payment to the actor's estate of about £28,000. So again, that's the back and forth that happened in the year subsequent to the production of Rogue One. Francis, age 75, is seeking less than £500,000 and made a number of films featuring Cushing, including The Ghoul, Legend of the Werewolf, and The Masks of Death. The actor signed an agreement not to allow his image to be used without Francis's permission in 1993 while preparing to make a television film called A Heritage of Horror, which was not completed, the court heard. So Peter Cushing did sign an agreement with Francis's company. Where was that at? With Francis's company in 1993, an agreement that does not allow Peter Cushing's image to be recreated. However, no such agreement was ever signed with Lucasfilm. So therein lies the question. By having a signed contract with Peter Cushing that states your production company is not allowed to recreate Peter Cushing through special effects or AI or anything else, does that exclude other companies and hold them to the same agreement?
Yeah, interesting.
This one's going to take a while to untangle. I mean, Peter Cushing died 30 years ago. This supposed agreement between him and Francis was signed 31 years ago. But again, that was for the production of one particular piece of film that never made it to publication. And it was simply a byline in the contract that Peter Cushing said, hey, if I die, you can't recreate me through special effects. Having an agreement like that with one company doesn't necessarily hold another company to that agreement. Especially since Peter Cushing's estate, who you would think owns the licensing to Peter Cushing's image, signed off on his use in Rogue One. So who owns the rights to Peter Cushing's likeness?
Yeah. It's kind of depressing. I think this whole it really feels as though the spirit of the Endeavor should just be they're dead. Let's just recast. We've recast people for less. It's I don't know. It'd be interesting to see somebody try to fill those shoes and those roles. And the fact that you got a bunch of people arguing and bitter over who can use his likeness and how, it's just the least interesting thing about this future that we're occupying.
I partially agree with that. Part of me thinks that the way in which Peter Cushing and Moff Tarkin was used in Rogue One was incredibly tasteful, and because it was literally a direct prequel like minute by minute,
Yeah.
up to the events of A New Hope. I thought it was a tasteful use of Peter Cushing. I thought it was the right storytelling with his character in that role. He didn't appear for more than 5 or 6 minutes in total screen time. And so it wasn't like a heavy utilization. It was an appearance in which he's giving a couple orders.
Yeah. And plus, like, you know what I love is that, like, the kind of the friction between him and Danny Masterson's character. Danny Masterson?
No, not Danny Masterson.
No, not the rapist.
No, not that.
Ben Mendelsohn. There we go. Good Lord. Not Danny Masterson. Not the new lead singer of Linkin Park's ex-boyfriend.
Ben Mendelsohn. Very good.
Ben Mendelsohn. Thank God. So sorry, guys. Everyone's like, no, he's talking about the guy. Don't do that on the show.
Yeah.
Ben Mendelsohn, who I freaking love watching his performances. He was like so good in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And the friction and like the play between him and like Grand Moff Tarkin was like so cool, because it was like classic old school Star Wars, like the Humefire when ready versus this guy who was like, you stand on the backs of my achievements, you know, and like just he's like a little bit more volatile, a little bit more like still has that like imperial authority. Yeah. But like it was cool. I loved that actually. I mean, I don't really have like, when it boils down to it, I don't have an opinion about them using Peter Cushing's likeness, because like it's such a bit part anyways. And I felt like it really elevated the movie. Like,
I feel it elevated the movie, and I feel because it wasn't simply just a rehashing of A New Hope. It wasn't like retelling a story. This is a new story that involved that character for about 5 minutes of screen time. I thought it was so incredibly tasteful and so incredibly well done. Absolutely. Just like the 5-second cameo of Princess Leia at the very end. I thought that was a fantastic nod to Carrie Fisher as well. Although that one arguably not as well done. But you know, if they go back and they're going to recreate A New Hope, or they're going to tell another story in which, you know, Grand Moff Tarkin is a main player, you like 50 minutes of screen time in a movie or something like that, recast it, let a new actor take the reins, because that's what actors are supposed to do.
But also, let's not tell that story.
Also, let's write a new story, perhaps, with new characters in a new setting.
Like, he was served as a really good set dressing, and like for all of these other news stories. Ben Mendelsohn, great new character.
Yeah.
The Skarsgård guy, great new character. Diego Luna as Cassian Andor, great new character. Like, all of the characters, absolutely great additions to the lore, to the canon.
Yeah.
Okay? Cushing was great window dressing. We don't need like the origin story of Grand Moff Tarkin. Frankly, I couldn't care less about the origin story of the plain ass vanilla fascist, you know, Nazi villain. Couldn't care less. It's the same as all the other ones, you know? Like,
when is Blue Jeans guy gonna get his origin story? I mean, he's got his own action figure.
Yeah, that's all he needs. He's got an action figure. Let it go, Blue Jeans guy. I mean, hey, I love that denim canonically exists in Star Wars now, but because it really wasn't clear before then. That
right.
So
right. Yeah, does it exist? Like, who's making denim at that? Like, is it cotton, or, you know, it probably can't be cotton. It's got to be some other textile. Yeah, is indigo really the right color? You know, would there be other more readily available dyes for it?
Right. See, Skull says Tarkin's origin story is actually pretty good. The book is good. Okay. And I think that's fine. I think it works as a book.
Yeah.
That's great.
But also, we don't need 75-year-old Tarkin, which means you don't need the original actor.
Yeah. Books are great. Books are great ways to explore additional lore. I'm a huge fan of the expanded universe. Okay, I read like almost every expanded universe book before Disney bought it. I played every game I could. I read comics. Like, I'm a huge fan of that medium. That's fine. What I don't want is for them to, like, I'm sitting there trying to watch, like, you know, whatever movie, Deadpool 4, and then the freaking trailer comes in and it's like, before he was an immensely racist, misogynistic, fascist, you know, governor in the empire. He was a little boy like anyone else. And then it's like, oh, you may fire when ready. Wee! You know, it's like...
Do not make Grand Moff Tarkin a sympathetic character. Do not do it. That is the wrong play.
Don't make him don't make the blockbuster edition of his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to be a blockbuster. We've all seen how many times
this summer
try to take
sub Moff Tarkin. Before he was Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, I got it.
But I mean, talking about actor recreations, like, you know, you've even got situations like, look at Solo. Look at I mean, let's not even leave the Star Wars universe. Let's look at Solo. Let's look at can you imagine if instead of letting Donald Glover take the reins as Lando, they simply recreated and body imposed, you know, a younger Billy D. Williams over him?
You want to talk about the two best recastings ever.
Donald Glover was more Lando than Billy D. Williams was, and that's an incredible statement to make.
It's incredible. I can't believe how good Donald Glover was. And then, of course, the other one that played Han Solo.
Yeah.
I never remember his darn name, but he was super good too. At first, you know, I saw him in the trailer and I was unsure. Then I watched that movie. I was floored. He was so
all of
good.
His cloaks that he's got, and he's just
I love
around.
that. Yeah, I loved that. The Calrissian Chronicles, Chapter 4. He's dictating his memoir.
Yes. The casting for that movie was so great. Aldrin Einrich was Han Solo.
Yeah.
Emilia Clarke, Donald Glover, Woody Harrelson, Phoebe Waller.
You also had
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany?
Yes.
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah, Woody Harrelson was good.
Yeah,
great movie. Honestly, like, I like Solo just a little bit less than Rogue One. Like, Rogue One has got to be like tops Star Wars movie. Solo really is right up there.
Yeah.
You know, followed by maybe an unpopular opinion, but Last Jedi is my favorite of the saga movies. I mean, other than like Empire Strikes Back, I mean, like Return of the Jedi.
Empire Strikes Back is great. Like, I would put 7 up there as one of the best. I would put.
I mean, it's good. It's really good.
You know, The Force Awakens up there as really, really top tier Star Wars. I do not put The Last Jedi up there.
That's a bummer. You should try watching it again because it's pretty good.
I will stand by my statement because remember we reviewed these as they were coming out. I stand by my statement that I reserve my judgment of Last Jedi until I see The Rise of Skywalker. I said I'm not going to judge this yet. I think it's really great, but it depends on how they finish. And they didn't hit the landing, which means all the story building that they did in 8 fell flat in 9.
Yeah, but you know the problem with that is that they spent like a literal 15 minutes of screen time actively and openly retconning and undoing the things that made Last Jedi cool.
Which means it doesn't matter. Which means it doesn't matter how good of world building or storytelling you do. You didn't stick the ending. The ending was horrible.
Yeah, but the person that made The Last Jedi had nothing to do with the ending.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean...
If I go back and I watch 7, 8, 9, 8 no longer stands up. When it was by itself, 8 stands up. 8 is a great movie. If I'm watching them in a sequence, it no longer holds up. And that's my problem.
The funny thing about the Star Wars discourse, about the saga films, is that people won't shut up about how much they love Star Wars, but then when it boils down, like, they don't actually
Everyone hates
like
Star Wars. Yeah.
It's like, I love The Last Jedi, but I also liked the prequels. Like, I just rewatched the prequels, and I'm like, it's amazing how much hate that these got. Like,
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones is pretty weak, but like Phantom Menace is pretty fun and solid.
Phantom Menace is a baller movie. Some of the best special effects, especially for its day. I mean, pod race scene, the opening scene with the landers coming down. Say what you will about the Gungan battle and whatnot, but that was pretty epic as well. The landers
were so good.
Yeah. Like episode 1, I think holds up. Episode 2, not so much. There was
a little bit dicey. You have some cool stuff.
There's some weird stuff.
The special effects don't really hold up.
But
very well.
Revenge of the Sith, solid. Kind
of makes up for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Episode 3 was pretty good, except for the whole R2-D2 flying through the robot factory thing.
Yeah, but like we just forget about that. Like all of the other things about Star Wars that are kind of like cringy,
a little campy, right?
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, people forget that Star Wars is also supposed to be campy, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
People forgot that about Star Trek too, and look at Strange New Worlds coming in and being campy AF and being that much better for it, and look at Lower Decks, taking the campiness and owning it, and saying some things just don't make sense, and that's totally okay. We're allowed to laugh at this universe, and was better for it.
Yeah.
There, some Star Trek talk. It's not just Star Wars over here.
We brought it back. Rev says, I like that they brought back Palpatine Sumi. But what's funny about it, and I think it just shows the absolute departure from trying to tell an interconnected Star Wars story, is just the fact that they had to go like, somehow Palpatine returned.
I don't mind that they brought him back.
When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is just Star Wars, somebody's fan fiction." That's the only way. Like, I was in the theaters. I saw the movie twice in theaters, and I was like, "Oh, okay, just Star Wars fan fiction." And it actually made the movie pretty tolerable for the first time. Second time, I was like, "Wow, they really hated The Last Jedi. They spent so much screen time undoing like the Holdo maneuver, one of the coolest fucking." Oh, sorry. One of the coolest scenes in The Last Jedi when she freaking light speeds through that ship. It looks so awesome. It was so epic, emotionally powerful.
I stand by. That's one of the best scenes in all of cinema.
And then
I stand by that.
Then they go into the next one, and what's so stupid is like they're like, let's just do a bunch of Holdo, and like they address lines of dialogue and close-ups to address it, and they're like, let's just do loads of Holdo maneuvers, and then like, that's a 1 in a million shot. It's like, no, it wasn't a 1 in a million shot. This is the thing that was debated after Last Jedi so much too. They're like, oh, you shouldn't be able to do this or whatever, and it's like, no, that's why warp speed travel is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah,
they talk about it in the first movie ever made. You can bounce off a moon or through a black hole,
or into a star.
Yeah, because if you don't know where you're going, you can hit something. She knew where she was going, and she hit something. And it was cool. She sacrificed her life in a cool, epic,
they knew exactly what was coming. And that's one of the coolest things about it was they're turning around to like, oh, they're gonna stay and fight. Okay, finally we get something, and they're like, they're not charging weapons. They're going to hyperdrive. Turn! And it's like that whole scene of like, we can see it, and there's nothing we can do to stop what's about to happen to us. That was so incredible.
And then they go in, and then they have, one of the hobbits just basically be like, oh, it's a 1 in a million shot. No, it wasn't. No. It wasn't luck. Yeah. She sacrificed her life so they could get away. Yeah. Anyway, and then somebody else in it. Horses in space. I forgot about that. I blocked that out. Yeah. That's incredible. Horses in space.
Like I said, Episode 8, Last Jedi, has some amazing scenes, has some amazing world building. The problem is they retconned it in Episode 9, which means none of it matters. In the grand scheme of the story, they destroyed everything about it.
See, that's why I choose to just go like, well, then it is the best. Because it was like, it doesn't matter. The next one barely exists as a movie in this world, and like, nobody has anything good to say about the Rise of Skywalker.
No.
Nobody has anything good to say about it, but it's funny to me that like 60% of the people are like, well, it's Return of the Jedi's fault. I'm like, how? if you were given a movie that was a steaming pile of dog shit, couldn't you make a better sequel?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that what sequels are for?
Yep.
How many movies have we seen that aren't good in the sequel? Well, okay, I guess generally speaking, like, sequels are never as good as the original. But
I wish they made a second Matrix. It would have killed.
You know what? You know what a good example of this is? Yeah, that was it. That went right over me. That went right over me. You know what a good example of this is, though? Is like you have Indiana Jones, and then you have Temple of Doom. Like, Temple of Doom is a great
slaps.
movie.
Yeah.
But it's not as good as Raiders. Like, it doesn't even hold a candle to Raiders.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, I don't know, you know, I guess that's the wrong example. But then, because I guess that's going backwards. I'm trying to think of going forwards. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Whatever. Yeah. It's like, just write a better movie. Like, nobody held a gun to your head and said that you had to, like, you could have just politely ignored the parts that you didn't like. Instead, we got, they fly now. They tried to kill Chewbacca and pretend like we weren't smart enough to know that that's what they were, like, that it was a fake.
Right.
They tried to kill C-3PO and just gave him his memories back at the end.
Yeah.
They had a knife that supposedly had the directions to the thing on the Death Star.
Right.
What?
Which was lined up because they landed at the right spot. Like, have you ever tried to align a shape to a thing that's a mile and a half from you? Half a degree makes 100% of the difference. And
you know, I'm one of the rare people who didn't have a problem with the ending of Lost.
That's fair.
But given the fan outcry of the show, perhaps nobody should have let J.J. Abrams close out a series. Like,
well,
if people were...
He had to start writing 2009 Star Trek, so, I mean, he had, like, let's wrap this thing up.
So good. So good. The guy knows how to start it, because we all like Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I think everybody would say Force Awakens.
Force Awakens
Everybody likes
awesome.
2009 Star Trek. 2009 Star Trek is, like...
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Yep. Vince points out, Jeff, they did. It was called The Animatrix, and it was freaking awesome. Yes, I know. I freaking love The Animatrix. Oh my god.
We also talk about this on the show way too often, so I won't beat it too hard. And I haven't seen the net guy on here yet, but Matrix 4, I like it. It's pretty good.
I haven't seen it yet. I need to.
Here's the thing. I want to say that you would like it. I think you need to go into it with keeping in mind how meta it is.
That's fine.
Because that was my favorite part about the movie, was how aggressive Lana Wachowski was towards all of the people that co-opted her movie and took the wrong message out of the original.
Right.
Like, she goes really hard on her, like, anti-fans.
I like that.
Like, personally, I thought it was great. But people thought that it... I mean, it doesn't hold a candle to the first one. How could it, you know?
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, it makes a really good sequel to the first one.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was as good of a sequel as Top Gun Maverick was.
Okay.
Top Gun.
Okay.
Like, and you know, that's just me personally, but I just rewatched it again the other day, and I was thinking to myself, like, it's bizarre to me how that movie got more hate. But you know, it's also the climate of things anymore too. Things are too woke, things are too whatever, things are whatever. Like, how did Matrix 4 get more hate than Matrix Reloaded?
Well,
you know?
I can tell you why the Matrix 4 got more hate, and it's because it's no longer the Wachowski brothers.
Yeah, and that's probably a really good point.
Probably why it got a lot of hate.
That's probably a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole story is really meta. I would have loved to have seen, like, some of the direct, like, some of the people, like, really directly reprise their roles. Like, I would have loved to see Lawrence Fishburne in there or whatever, but like, the guy who replaced him is so good. Yeah. The people that, like, make up the new crew are so good.
Nice.
Like, they really lean into that, like, that aesthetic that they danced around in the first one, where everybody has their cool, like, hacker names. Like, they leaned into that even harder in this one, and it like, People have different colored hair. Their outfits are even more outlandish. Like, it's so cool.
I love how much. I mean, think about this. The movie Hackers came out in 1994. The Matrix came out in 1999. And it was all about 90s hacker culture and whatnot.
Yeah.
When Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions came out, we were kind of evolving past that. Like Hackers had evolved past that aesthetic that everyone has a handle and things like that. Like there were some professional hackers, there were white hats out there. There was we were moving past that grunge as a society hacker thing, and that is partially why the second two were not quite as revered. Also, the original Matrix leaned so heavily on practical effects and invented new practical in-camera effects to do bullet time and all those other things. And then they went, well, computers have come so far. Let's just do it all with CGI. And it was not up to the task.
No.
One of the worst scenes in cinema is the Thousand Smith fight. It is an awful abomination of cinema. For the LA freeway scene had so much potential and has some good moments in it because they did recreate a half mile of LA freeway to destroy, but then 4 or 5 of the pivotal scenes in that are 100% CGI and they look so out of place. And so it's like they didn't learn the right way to do filmmaking from all their successes in the first one. They tried to cheat it and get around it. And I think that's partially why I don't like them, is not necessarily because of the story. I think they still tell a really good story. And I love some of the characters and some of the scene and the world building that they do. It's so incredibly great. But then you have these so out of place elements that are just kind of thrown in there.
Somebody here says, I was a fan of Matrix 1 through 3, but 4 was just meh. And I think when I'm talking about, keep in mind how meta it is, I think it's really important to remember that Lana Wachowski was basically forced by Warner Bros. To make it. Yeah. And she did. Yeah. She didn't want to, but she was like, I will be damned if somebody takes over my IP. Yeah. And so that's the movie. It's like an open act of rebellion against Warner Bros.
Which is, again, so 90s hacker culture. It's so great.
Yes, exactly, man. And I think when people think about it from that perspective, it just lends layers to it.
Yeah.
If anybody knows the author Jason Pargin, he did the John Dies at the End books. Anyway, he's on TikTok and he did a really interesting TikTok dissecting or kind of re-examining the Matrix for like the audiences that don't know why it was so important when it came out, because like it changed movies.
It really did.
Like I remember people telling me like they came out of the movie theater and like they were just like, wow, movies will never be the same again after that, And
the Matrix had just as big of an impact as Star Wars: A New Hope had on cinematography and storytelling. It really, really changed the way we approach movies and storytelling as an industry.
Yeah. Well, he does a really interesting re-examination of it, talking about the idea of resistance as a storytelling element. And the Matrix is a story of resistance after you've already lost.
Yeah.
Because the game is over. The humanity is enslaved by the machines to forever power their world and to live peacefully in this little farm. Yet there are a few who refuse to accept that reality and who rebel against it. And so just from like a cultural viewpoint of the types of movies about that subject that we tell, there's not very many like that. You watch Star Wars and it's like this scrappy group of fighters, and the war is already lost, but like there's hope and they're fighting from the outside. It's like, no, the Matrix is fighting from within. They're fighting, not necessarily a symmetrical war or whatever like the rebellion was in Star Wars. It's a completely different. Yeah.
Oh, it's right there.
Got it.
I lost my grip. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, now we're talking.
There we go.
But anyway, it's a really good TikTok by Jason Pargren. If you guys are on TikTok, he does some really cool, like medium length, like TikToks about movies.
Yeah.
That I really appreciate.
So this is the Rogue Hazelnut Brown Ale, also known as the Hazelnut Brown Nectar. It's gone by a couple of different names.
Camdog says the Thousand Smiths fight scene as a standalone scene, it could be pretty good, but cutting to and from live action just shows how bad the CGI was.
There was almost no live action in the entire scene. There was almost none.
I mean, and you can see it in their models and stuff when he's like spinning around the signposts and pulling up things from the ground and doing. Yeah. It is interesting because honestly, like when I was younger, I loved that scene. I was very forgiving audience, obviously, and it's really painted.
I was less.
Yeah, that's fine.
I hated it in the moment.
That's fine. I was an anime kid. And so, like, watching that, it felt like live action anime. It felt like watching Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And so what's kind of fun anymore is, like, that's the perspective I bring into watching so many movies. Like, I go and see the, like, latest Marvel movies, or I go and do that. And I'm like, dude, I would have killed to have this as a kid, you know? I would have murdered somebody to have my movies look like this, to be like this. And, like, all we had was movies like The Matrix, which weren't exactly geared towards kids, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
Somebody also says that the 2009 Star Trek wasn't good. They say the story was horrible. I thought the story was very good.
We've hashed out 2009 Star Trek before, but my overall opinion of Star Trek 2009 was it was fantastically written, and the characters are absolutely fine, and the story is absolutely fine because they told the story of the original cast of Star Trek. So your James T. Kirk and your Spock and your Scotty and everyone else, they gave them the origin story that they needed in a 100% brand new universe. This universe is not the same for a very key deviation point, and that is that Captain Kirk's father died saving that ship during the Romulan incursion. And so obviously they are all very, very different characters. Or at least Kirk is a very different character. The rest, it would seem, follow, a lot of their same journey, but Kirk does not. And as Kirk is the leader of this crew and still finds his way to a place of leadership on this crew, he's going to be leading them differently. He's going to be pulling from different life experiences. I thought Kirk in this one was a little bit more calculating than perhaps Kirk of old. And I thought Spock in 2009 was a little bit more brash than Spock of old. And I thought they played perfectly. They paid homage to the original characters. They paid so much respect to the original stories, and then carved out their own path that was derivative and unique, but explainable within canon. And you can accept that. My problem is they go, here's this new line we're going to venture. Here's this brand new story that we're going to tell. Nope, Wrath of Khan. Let's just roll reverse Wrath of Khan.
I like Beyond Darkness, though. People hate that movie. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was such a lazy attempt at retelling Wrath of Khan.
But you like Force Awakens.
I like Force Awakens, but those were different characters thrown into a similar situation, and as we know, history tends to repeat itself. Modern politics.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
History tends to repeat itself. So I don't mind, 60 years later, history kind of repeating itself a little bit. The Empire trying to reclaim the power it once had. Let's create an even bigger death machine and whatnot. Where they got the resources, I don't know. They could have just made another Death Star, and I would have bought it hook, line, and sinker. They built 2 in the first 3. Why not a 4? Why not a third Death Star?
Why get shy?
Why does it have to be a planet? Why does it have to be bigger and badder? Why can't you just, try to recreate the thing that didn't work the first 2 times? You were so close.
The third time we were this close. They always say that. They did win. They fired that base and blew up all the planets, including the government, apparently. which was not made very clear in the film, but
right, yeah, it was more of a footnote in the film. But you can retell a similar story with new characters and still have it be decidedly different. I thought it was still decidedly different, and different enough to call it good.
Fair point.
So
Benedict Cumberbatch was coming off his hot streak as Sherlock and all this, and I liked having a lot of those opening scenes on Earth. I thought that was really cool, like getting to see other places like London and stuff.
Yeah,
I like the movie, but yes, I mean, look, number one, like it's no Wrath of Khan. I love Wrath of Khan.
Yeah,
it tries to be. I have fun with it, but yeah. And then Star Trek Beyond, just a brilliant piece of film. Love that one.
I do like Beyond, except for I don't like the Beastie Boys sabotage surfing scene. And any scene in Star Trek, much like any scene in Star Wars, there's like a couple of constants of technology that you have. Yeah. And if your problem could be solved by a well-established piece of technology without explaining why that piece of technology won't work, then I hate your story and you're a stupid writer. And
hello, but we have tons of holodeck episodes that are amazing.
We do. We have like 3 holodeck episodes that are amazing, and the rest are like beyond garbage. My problem is, you established in 2009 Star Trek that Scotty has basically developed the theorem for transporting at warp, and he's already solved for why with 2 moving spaceships and whatnot, and like made it work, right? If a transporter could have fixed the problem in Beyond for the final fight scene where Kirk is battling the guy in 0G and everything else, then I hate you as a story. If Scotty's anywhere near a transporter, he could have gone, well, that guy's in the vacuum of space now.
But see, that was my thought when Picard needed to go to a whole other planet to get his heart fixed. I was like, why don't they just transport his ass with his an old pattern and transport a new heart?
Hold him in a transporter buffer.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we kind of got this idea that, like, they hinted this in Next Generation at one point, where part of decontamination when they come back from another planet is that they have their old pattern, and if there's like viruses or there's diseases or pathogens, they can just not. Yeah. And I was like, so why can't they just do that with his heart valve?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Why cancer doesn't exist anymore? Because every time you go through the it just takes out the cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why cancer doesn't exist. But yeah, you are destroying and recreating matter, exact replicas of matter based on patterns and algorithms that you've seen before. And so why they couldn't just beam him up to the planet and go, oh, look, he has a hole in his heart. That wasn't there before. Let's just patch that up while he's rematerializing with new matter that we've created.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we already know what the replicators can do, and we have some pretty good episodes about the replicators,
including with biomaterials and all kinds of fun stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. We're already there.
Mm-hmm.
But then you don't get the cool episode where Picard goes I mean, I do really like the episode where Q takes him back for him to like relive his life and see, like, would you do anything different? He's like, no. And then also, isn't that why he crashes on that planet when he's supposed to get a heart surgery? And he's there with... Who is he there with? He's there with Wesley? Or maybe it's Dr. Crusher. But he's there with one of the Crushers on the desert planet. Isn't that a heart?
Maybe he's making another Crusher, as we found out.
Classic.
Trick Logic chimes in the Discord chat. Craft Computing. I'm imagining every episode of TNG and on with Butters in the background yelling, "Scotty did it!"
Imagine, though, for a second, imagine they come to you, Paramount comes to you, and they're like, Jeff, we want you to make the next Star Trek show. Like, you would write a holodeck episode.
No.
Well, okay.
I would not.
I would write it for you.
Okay, you can write the holodeck episode. My problem right now is if you ask me to write a Star Trek series, like Jeff, write us 10 episodes. I want Liam Shaw. That's who I want as my captain. I want Captain Liam Shaw.
That would be great.
That's who I want. Liam Shaw is dead.
Well, he needs an origin story.
I hate that. I want Liam Shaw to live.
Just make your own Liam Shaw.
What I'm thinking is...
There was a lot of people that survived that attack that you can put in there that are just...
He was shot in the chest and he died in Seven's arms. Like, that one's kind of hard to explain. Unless, like, he also had some nanoprobes in him because... You know, the Borg were making an attack and the nanoprobe somehow kept him alive. Like, I'm willing to accept that as an explanation. In fact, I've thought this out many times in my head. Engineer Shaw. Yes, there we go.
What about the Kelvin universe, Shaw? You know, like, he's still around.
He is, yeah. We haven't seen any Kelvin universe next gen yet. Like, how would that look?
Wouldn't that be cool?
Because Vulcan's not a planet anymore. Neither is Romulus. Or no, Romulus is still a planet. That's right. Because Nero went back in time before the destruction of Romulus to destroy Vulcan. And so Vulcan is gone, but Romulus still exists. So how does all the Federation and alliances look at this point? Because Vulcan was a pretty large power at the founding of the Federation. They were one of the 5 founding species, as well as the Andorians, and there were a couple others. So, yeah. How does the political structure play out with the Klingons?
There's a lot of room for fun there. Yeah.
Vince says, Lower Decks already covered this. Bridge crew will always come back to life. Yeah, they come back to life all the time. Like I said, there's an easy explanation. Like, yeah, he had some nanoprobes in him from the Borg infusions and whatnot, and that kept him alive, even though it looked like he was dead. But, he they slid him into a bay, and 2 days later, his eyes opened up, and, he's got all his memories, and he's thrilled that 7 of 9 has been promoted to captain of the Enterprise G, and now Liam Shaw needs a new commission. Like, I'm totally on board with this.
Or what's even better is that he was shot, but it was just a holodeck program malfunction that we watched.
No, it was not.
Yes, it was.
No, don't. No.
Or better yet, they just reconstitute him from his saved transporter pattern.
There you go.
Come on.
Yeah.
Right as he was shot and dying in Seven's arms, he is beamed into the transporter, and he's there for 100 years, and he comes out when they have the technology to save him.
You know what? If Dr. Mbenga can hold his daughter in a transporter buffer for 1.5 years on Strange New Worlds,
why not? I mean, that's also how they brought Scotty back in TNG.
Totally,
he was in the transporter buffer for 70 years.
He absolutely was. Yep. Or Shaw comes back as a Borg. I would love Shaw to come back as the thing he detests. I think that would be such good character building.
That'd be great. Just let him destroy the Federation.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we do have some more news to talk about still. I was getting to it, Skull, but I do very much appreciate the reminder. It's not like we've forgotten to talk about stories here on the channel before.
Skull really wants to hear our opinions about this.
About the PlayStation 5. So Sony announced the PlayStation 5 Pro yesterday. And boy, are some console folks not happy about it. It's expensive. It's $700, $699 US for the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, it does include a much improved AMD APU, up from 32 compute units of RDNA 3 or RDNA 2 to 60 compute units, I believe, of RDNA 3. I need to verify that. Hold on. In fact, let me do that live. Let me make sure my stats are right.
Go ahead.
PS5 specs. Here we go. Will include a 2TB solid-state drive, a DualSense wireless controller, and a copy of Astro's Playroom pre-installed in every PS5 Pro purchase. Upgraded GPU with PS5 Pro. We're getting a GPU that has 67% more compute units than the current PS5 console and 28% faster memory. Overall, this enables up to 45% faster rendering for gameplay, making experience much smoother. We're also getting advanced ray tracing and AI-driven upscaling, so FSR basically as standard. That is according to a summary Reddit post. So, there you go.
Interesting. You know, I really didn't read too much into this, but the overwhelming consensus seems to be boo.
Yeah, it's boo because of the price. Although, if you remember, the PlayStation 5 also debuted at $600, as did the PlayStation 4. And people are not thrilled about those numbers. So I guess the PlayStation 4 was $500. I think it was $499. PlayStation 3 was $600, and that was 2006 money. But yeah, a lot of people not happy with those numbers. I came across a Twitter post from Jeff Knightley, and I'll just put this up now. Here is the price adjusted for inflation of mainline PlayStation console launches, starting with PlayStation 1. Oh, look, adjusted for inflation from $299. It's $611. PlayStation 2, $546. PlayStation 3, $778. PlayStation 4, $538. PlayStation 4 Pro, $522. PlayStation 5, $606. PS5 Pro, $699. It's kind of in the ballpark.
All right in there.
Like, it's the biggest number for sure, but
I think that a lot of the crying that I've seen, and again, I haven't read too much into this, but it's more about the
no disc.
Well, no disc, but also the increase in the hardware differences that you're getting. That is it worth upgrading, buying? There's a small list of games that are going to be PS5 Pro compatible at this moment. I mean, they'll all be compatible, but upscaling or whatever that might be. Or so I don't know. People just talking about the price and all that. I really don't know. I've been out of the console game for so long. Like, I have a PS4, and I remember thinking to myself, like, when the PS4 Pro came out, like, Spider-Man had just come out, and I was really bummed because I was looking at the side-by-sides of Spider-Man on the PS Pro versus the PS4 or the PS4 Pro, and I was thinking to myself, oh man, I feel like I'm losing out here. I'm missing something. It never detracted from my enjoyment of the game that I didn't have a PS4 Pro at all.
Nope.
It's
kind of some of the same points that I've made when it comes to GPU hardware. Is, look, if you are a console player, if you have a PlayStation 5, if you have an Xbox One, every game's going to play. And it's going to play at a reasonable enough tick to make it enjoyable. There's no such thing as putting a game disc into a console and then going, oh man, it's only getting 72 frames per second. I wish it got 100. Said no one ever. Not a single time in human history has that statement ever crossed someone's lips. I always go back to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were both games of the year when they were released on Switch at 20 frames per second. So was Ocarina of Time. 20 FPS. No one ever complained because they're great games. And because they're consistent, Are there slowdowns? For sure. Do they take away from the enjoyment of those games? No, because we also didn't play them at 60 frames per second. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And
that's a good way of looking at it.
When I review entry-level graphics cards, and I've said this so many times on my channel, when I review entry-level graphics cards, I don't review them at maximum settings, because not a single person who spends $200 or $300 on a graphics card expects games to run at 4K ultra settings. They want the game to run on their monitor, and they want it to run good. They don't care what settings it runs at. They want it to run good. So does the game run? Good. Cool. I'm happy. Is there a better value out there? Are there more frames per dollar if you spend $600? Of freaking course there are. Are there better experiences that you can pay for? Of course there are. Is there always something better? In the PC gaming space, of course there is. That's the reason the 4090 and the 14900 KS and the 7950 X3D exist. There's always something better if you're willing to pay for it. And how much better is it? It's not 700% better. The guy playing with a $4,500 gaming rig is not having more fun than the guy playing with a $400 gaming rig. You're playing the same games. Different settings, but same games. It's not reducing your enjoyment if you have a $400 rig. Same thing with the PS5 Pro. Are you going to get better fidelity on some games? Yes. Are you going to get upscaling on some games? Yes. Are you going to get better ray tracing on some games? Yes. Are you going to get better frame rates on some games? Maybe. Are you going to enjoy it more? That's subjective. That's up to you. Maybe.
I've been
maybe
thinking
not.
about getting a PS5 just to play 4K Blu-rays. And I can't do that with the PS5 Pro, so...
Yep. So... It's why I harp so much on not comparing dissimilar things. It's... because for certain segments of the population, it doesn't matter. Is it good information to have that one graphics card is 40% better than this other graphics card? Absolutely. If someone is in the market for both of those graphics cards. If you're only in the market for $300 though, and that's a hard limit, review the graphics card as a $300 graphics card and ignore everything else. And I know the PC community hates when I say that, and I know the home lab community hates when I say that, because we are analytical as fuck. We overanalyze to the point of data paralysis. Of, well, if I spend the money here, I'm not going to be happy because this other thing still exists. Comparison is the thief of joy.
I think you just won't be happy no matter what. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny how that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
well,
if you have a PlayStation 5, do you need to upgrade? No. Because I don't necessarily see PS5 Pro exclusive titles coming out.
Right.
Your PlayStation 5 will be able to play any PlayStation 5 disc or any PlayStation 5 game that you download from the PlayStation Store. And that's probably going to be mandated by Sony. Unless they want to like push PS5 Pro exclusives, but I don't think that's in their best interest, and they know that. So, do you need to upgrade? No, you don't. If you want a better experience, this better experience is here for you. But so is a 4080, and so is a 4090, and so are all these other hardware upgrades that play the exact same games that you're playing right now. It's rare anymore that I come across a title that if I have any graphics card manufactured in the last 3 years, I can't play. I physically cannot play. I ran into one this week. And for everyone who goes like, well, of course you'd say that. You have a 4080 in your rig, or you have a Threadripper 64 core. You've got the PC below me is a 7800 X3D with a 4070. Like yes, like I have good hardware. Do you know what my main gaming rig is? My main gaming rig sits upstairs, and it's a Ryzen 3600 with an RTX 3050. Do you know why? Because it's quiet as hell. Because it draws no power. Because it doesn't put heat into my living room. Because the fans never spin up beyond a whisper. Because the 3050 plays every game that I want at 1080p, high settings, 60 FPS. Every game. I have a 60 FPS monitor on my desk upstairs. Do I need 140 FPS? No, I need 60 FPS. My expectations are set at a level that are acceptable for my enjoyment. Now, I downloaded a game called... God, what the hell is that thing called? Hold on. It's a specific game. I want to get it right. Starts with a Q. Good lord. It's supposed to be a Star Citizen killer. It's an indie game that is attempting to do like a Star Citizen thing where it gives you the entire solar system and it's all 1-to-1 with no loading screens. But I'll find it. Hold on.
Yeah, I just saw this.
I'm almost there. I'm scrolling down in my... I'm almost there. Starts with a Q.
Is it... I keep just wanting to be like, is it Quantum?
No. Dang it, I watched all the videos upstairs, which is on my other YouTube account. Can't find it. Anyway, there's a Star Citizen killer that came out in early access recently that has full ray tracing effects but actually works. It's like rock solid stable. Like, you can play it. Basically it's you're a human who your consciousness has been downloaded into a computer and held for 100 years because the Earth went through like this global climate change and everyone died. However, there are androids which they will download your consciousness into, and now you can fly a starship and be a pirate or a mercenary. Conga. Q-A-N-G-A. Conga. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank God. I kept thinking to myself, like, I've heard of this. I've seen this.
Yeah, Conga.
Yeah.
There's hope that this is going to have dedicated servers because it is co-op or single player, and that there will be like self-hosted dedicated servers. So you can like... I'm hoping to host a dedicated server for my patrons if that ever comes out. But yeah, it's a persistent universe, like all the things that Star Citizen has promised. And here's like an indie developer with like four people on the team. They go like, yeah, like we already built that. Here you go. And it's great. I played it for like 2 hours the other day. The problem is, and the whole point of this conversation, it really struggled on the RTX 3050. Let me tell you. And it's because it has a bunch of ray tracing effects and all of that stuff is on by default. Even when I went to low settings, it didn't like it. It was running at like 30 FPS. It's good enough for a Switch title, but not good enough for a Switch title when you're dropping lows of like 7. It wasn't good. So yeah. But yeah, like, the games that I can't play on any semblance of modern graphics card. Like, when did the RTX 3050 come out? 2020? 2021? It's a 3.5-year-old entry-level card. That is the only game I've come across that card cannot play at 1080p 60 FPS. It's the only game. We play on Steam Decks and say they're the best things in sliced bread, as well as, 7840 mobile graphics with 12 compute units of RDNA 3, and we say these handhelds are amazing, they play at 1080p low settings. Guess what? The RTX 3050 is twice as fast as that. Why is that not acceptable? Is it a better experience on a 3060 or a 4060 or a 4080? You bet your ass it is. You can turn up those settings. You can have all the shadows and all the eye candy. Am I having any more fun? No. It's the same game.
Well, we did it.
We did it. There's one more thing that I wanted to talk about, and that was Sony's ex-president, Chris Deering. He was the president of Sony Computer Entertainment, I believe Europe, SCEE, from 1995 to 2005. If you guys want to call someone a dick, out of touch, okay boomer / guy who got his and F for everyone else. The gaming industry has been making a lot of layoffs lately. And obviously there's a lot of game developers who are struggling right now. There's a lot of tech industry folks who are struggling right now. And it sucks to see. But if you want to see an out-of-touch executive who got his millions upon millions of dollars years ago and has never had to work really a day in his life, I haven't really talked about this. Like the experience of being like at the top of your field. I was a technology director for 8.5 years. Climbed to the top of my organization and was C-suite and was a CIO essentially. Was my job as difficult as it was when I was a technician? I don't know that it was. I had more responsibility, for sure. I had individual days that were for sure worse because of decisions that had to be made or personnel things that I had to deal with, people's lives that were impacted. I had some bad days. Was it harder? No. I leaned on years of experience to make faster decisions than I could have 15 years earlier. And that's why people are promoted into, positions of authority and positions of leadership, is you have the experience to right the ship and chart a course and everything else that you need to do. I also didn't get paid millions of dollars to do what I did. In fact, I rejected the first offer they slid across the table because it was flat out insulting. Chris Deering had some comments recently for a bunch of game developers that have been laid off in this last year. And, people are crying about, I can't afford an apartment because, we made a AAA or an indie game that was bought up by Microsoft. And even though it was like this massive success, they laid us off a week after it was published. And, now I'm on the verge of being homeless. He said, laid off game devs can just go to the beach for a year. And you can't blame the greedy execs for firing you. Things jump out in front of you and you deal with them just like any game. So get over it.
Excellent.
It's this statement that's drawing the ire. Go to a beach for a year. Do you know anyone, one person, and you know a lot of people, you name drop with some of my best of friends. Do you know anyone who could get laid off from their job, have zero income, and go, that's okay, I'm going to go sit on the beach for a year. I'm going to ponder. I'm going to explore my opportunities. I'm going to figure out what I want to do. We'll just take it easy for a while. We'll coast. We'll, maybe I'll only go on 2 vacations this year, but I'm just going to go to the beach and I'm just going to explore my... Do you know one?
No, not really. Like I can think of like a way that some people could make it work, but you're changing your life and you're probably not getting back into the industry. You know what I mean? Like You going to the beach, you're going where the money you have left goes further, which, means that you probably aren't going to be able to pop back into the Santa Monica office when, Rockstar starts hiring again or whatever.
If I'm on the beach for a year, it's because I sold my house to afford the tent.
Exactly where I was going with that. Like, your life isn't the same. Like, you probably don't have kids. You probably don't have a lot of you're going to be lightening up on other responsibilities like a mortgage or car payments or things like that. But like, if you want to have a life, if you want to be the person that you are and look for other jobs, and like, you're not going to the beach for a year. Hell, you're probably not even going to the beach for a weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
no shit.
Like, hello, I got to put my resume together. Like, I don't know. It's just like,
have you priced out a beachfront hotel recently?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah. My wife and I take an annual weekend vacation to the beach in February. Do you know why? Because I can get a beachfront view for like $120. We can't go to the beach because it sucks. But what we do is we will go there, sit in front of a fireplace, and we'll watch the storms roll in. And it's one of our favorite things to do once a year. Is we'll go to Cannon Beach or Seaside, and we'll get a beachfront, little condo, and we'll watch the storms roll in. It still costs us like $600 for a weekend.
Yeah. And it's like, really realistically, before you're getting into like lost wages from taking time away from work and like,
I am self-employed, and if there's ever a constant, it's that no time off goes unpunished.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that people who aren't self-employed, don't run their own business or company, can't really fathom. Is if I am not actively working for my business, I am actively losing money.
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah. That includes week-long trips to 45 drives. Like, people go, oh, they put you up in a hotel for a week. Yeah, do you know what I could have been doing during that week? Making money.
But at least I had a hotel room.
At least I had a hotel room.
I mean,
yeah,
the Best Western in Nova Scotia. I mean, it can't be beat.
I'm going to be on the road twice in the next 2 months. I'm going to be somewhere relatively local next week, but then I'm also going down to the Bay Area for like 3 days next month. Guess what? There are embargo dates for all that content. Like, I'm being briefed on some things, but I don't get to film anything there. Like, I'll take some B-roll, but then I have to come back and I have to write all that stuff. But that's also 3 days that I'm not actively in my studio making content, making improvements, making money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this Sony guy. What a douche. It reminds me of like when Bill Gates was on Ellen and like didn't know how much bread cost. I'm just like, oh, you're not even the same species after a certain point. Like,
right.
We got things to worry about, and when our jobs disappear, it's not a year at the beach.
Yeah. Yeah. The full comment is also that the affected workers should drive an Uber for a year or go to the beach until things turn around. Depending on where you live, there's already a saturation of Uber drivers, and unless you're willing to do it for like 60 hours a week, which actually those kinds of contracts or those kinds of things may be coming to an end because the Department of Transport is starting to say, we don't let semi-drivers drive for more than 36 hours a week. Why would we let an Uber driver drive for 60? Those changes are around the corner. It's going to be mandated that if you are on the clock for Uber, you are not on the clock for more than 36 hours because a tired driver is a dangerous driver. It's not okay.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive disconnect.
Yeah.
And it's also just offensive. Like, there's a whole other layer of it too, where there is a perception that Well, you're lucky to work in video games. So like
You
you
get to do
really
what you
should just
love.
you should just be thankful that you even had a chance to do this,
Hmm.
as though they aren't working their asses off just like anybody else.
And as if
Like,
AAA studios don't pay absolute shit wages.
right, exactly.
You know,
Yeah, it's kind of
I'm looking at Blizzard and Activision in particular, and Rockstar as some famously like, yeah, we made $8.3 billion on GTA 5. Here's your $17 an hour. Oh, and don't worry, you'll make overtime if you work weekends. Kind of
which, by the
BS
way,
that,
you'll have to during our next title when we fail to start meeting deadlines
right,
and our shareholders start wondering what's up.
right. Pizza party every Saturday.
You don't get paid for sleeping in the office, though, which will also be required.
Right, right. I just don't know if you have the kind of drive and work ethic that we're looking for here at Blizzard Games for $17.50 an hour.
Yeah. What a mess.
Yeah.
What a douche. This guy should be laughed at.
Yep.
We should all, I mean,
He doesn't care. He made millions. He doesn't give a shit what we think.
yeah, fair enough. We need to throw things at him in the street.
That's what we need to do.
Like, he shouldn't be allowed to go anywhere without constantly being hounded by people who know and think that he's a huge idiot.
Yeah.
He shan't know a moment's peace.
Saying that game devs can go sit on the beach for a year is almost as close to let them eat cake as we've ever gotten in the modern era.
It's pretty close. Yeah, that's a good point.
And we all know how that ended.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Good reference.
Thank you.
You must be fresh off the Olympics, right? That was like there was like a reference to that in the Olympics, wasn't there?
I didn't get
During
it from
the
the
opening
Olympics,
ceremony.
but I did see it somewhere. There was some reference I've seen to that somewhere recently.
Nah, fair enough.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of History of the World Part 1, Mel Brooks, but you look like the piss boy.
Did you ever watch part 2?
I watched a couple snippets of it. I never watched the full thing beginning to end.
Yeah.
Part of my problem, I hate Nick Kroll. Look, Mel Brooks, comedic genius in a lot of ways. Nick Kroll, I'm not going to disparage his craft. He is good at what he does, and he does have his fan base. Could not be more polar opposite than Mel Brooks, and I think was one of the worst selections to drive that project forward. Because
right.
Like Nick Kroll, huge on Comedy Central. I believe he had a huge part in Drunk History as far as driving that project forward. Drunk History had its moments, and I like some of that. But the Nick Kroll show, I think was just not good.
Yeah.
And again, just my opinion, not my style of comedy. I love the puns, the backspeak, the cyclical jokes that Mel Brooks does. That is so his writing style. And that, I mean, Blazing Saddles, Men in Tights, Spaceballs, like I am huge fans of his entire body of work. And Nick Kroll just doesn't embody that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, no disrespect. Like Nick Kroll has his audience, and Godspeed to them all, but not the right person for that position.
Perfect. Well, there you go. Heard it here.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to pulling some beers on Friday night.
Yes, that should be fun.
Hopefully, we see some familiar faces.
Yeah, hoping to run into some people I know. If anyone lives, like I said, in the greater Oregon, Washington area, and you can make it to the central Willamette Valley, Mount Angel Oktoberfest. Rhett and I will be pouring beers 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. this Friday the 13th in Mount Angel, Oregon. So stop by, come say hi. That'd be fun.
We'll be at the North Serving Station.
Yes.
In the beer garden. There will be an indoor and an outdoor serving station. We will be manning both.
Yes. Yeah, if you want a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to come have Craft Computing pour you a beer.
It's always a good time, though, so...
Well, I shouldn't say once in a lifetime. Eventually, I'm probably going to open a bar, so...
Right, yeah, exactly. People are like, hey, I went to that one time in Mount Angel. You said it was once in a lifetime. I'm suing you now.
Well, Disney has the rights to Peter Cushing's likeness, so I can serve more than one beer at more than one location at more than one point in time.
But what if something happens to you? Then what? Who's going to serve those beers on your behalf?
Ooh. Well, then the Tupac hologram is going to have its hands full. Novella says, pour me a beer into a Craft Computing water bottle. I don't think we're doing growler pours.
We pour it into a plastic cup and then you can pour it into another container. I think
technically they cannot pour it into another container. OLCC guidelines.
There are things that you can buy at the Oktoberfest that have an exemption. So you probably can't pour it into a water bottle, but some people have beer horns and other people have beer steins.
Yes.
And I think if you buy those at the Oktoberfest, you get an exemption and they can pour it into those things.
You know, I should probably bring my horn with me. I have a beer horn with a hip mount on it.
That would be pretty cool.
I'll probably be rocking that.
That'd be cool.
It's a beer horn in a holster. It's great. I was buying a boot.
And there is a boot option too. There is a boot. Yeah. That was what I was thinking. Yeah.
There is a 2-liter option.
So people they got the boot necklace and they walk around with it. So a Stein holding contest. They have lots of things like that nonstop at the main festival hall. They have lots of different like beer chugging contests and Stein. Yeah, maybe a Stein holding contest. They do like dancing things with like big full things of beer. It's cool, and it's all volunteer. Like people get up, picked from the audience to go out and do that stuff. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Oh, should be a good time.
Yep.
Well, this is a pretty good show. Appreciate y'all guys letting us rant about Star Wars and Star Trek. We hit all the tops.
Jeff and Rhett in Lederhosen. No.
I am one of the rarities that grew up in that town that made it out without my own pair of Lederhosen. I'd like to someday evolve and get a pair, but probably not. I don't know. I've made it this far without ever wearing a pair, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a pair either.
Yeah, well, they sell them there. It's just like, do you want to go for it? Do you want to not? They're expensive.
Yeah.
To wear for 4 days at most.
Yeah, I don't know that I need them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't impact your enjoyment.
Yeah. I've never felt like I needed to get more into character. Like, being the guy that drinks enough German beer is more than enough for me.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh, and with that, that's going to be episode 351 of Talking Heads. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the latest in beer and tech news right here on YouTube. Make sure to drop this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Check us out on the replay on Spotify or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. We've been pimping the Oktoberfest, and we'll be serving beer on Friday. But Rett, anything else to trumpet?
Oh, not too much. You can check out most of what I'm doing. Keep up to date at rettisawesome.com or my band, themarionberries.com. We're on Spotify. We are in the middle of recording our next album. We're having a lot of fun with that. Who knows when that'll come out? It probably won't be anytime soon, but if I have updates about it, it'll be on one of those two websites. I'm also on Bluesky at rettisawesome.com, so you can find me there. I
need to start posting on Bluesky more. I've been at least browsing Twitter once a day anymore, but I think I need to, if I post anything, make sure it goes on Bluesky as well. So I will make sure I'm still doing that. So most
of the people that I like to follow on Twitter have all been making the exodus to Bluesky. And Bluesky just got a huge bump when they shut down Twitter in Brazil.
In Brazil, yeah.
So it's been pretty popping over there. I've been having a good time.
Nice.
It's a pretty suitable Twitter replacement for me.
Yeah. My
More
main problem with
than Mastodon was.
Yeah,
anyway.
My main problem with moving off of Twitter was everyone that I had no real contact with was still on Twitter.
Exactly.
And so people that's the only way I communicated with them and kept up to date and in touch with them. They didn't leave the platform. And
I don't think there's any harm in not deleting your Twitter account. I didn't delete mine, and I still check it every once in a while because there's some, exactly like you said, like some people that I can only get in touch with a DM there.
Yeah.
And Bluesky, I don't think it has DMs anyway. So
yeah, I don't think it does.
But it's just been nice as far as the general experience of scrolling and stuff, and the ability to make feeds has been pretty cool and useful. And anyway, yeah.
Novella says, I will never call Twitter X. No, that's why I still called it Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still Twitter, because as soon as they oust Musk as the CEO, which, who knows, it'll be back to Twitter, because Twitter was a verb. How do you kill a verb? Holy crap.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
What an obscenely stupid decision. In Insane. A series of rash, stupid decisions. Ugh. Vote.org. Register. Everyone.
Yeah.
Go do it.
It's a great place to call it.
Yep. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, we will see you next week. Possibly with a special guest next week. I don't know yet.
Woohoo!
I'm gonna be somewhere weird, so it's gonna be like a remote stream, but we'll see what happens.